If you like this channel and what I do here, please help to support my work by checking out one of my books, available from Lulu Publishing and Amazon.com. Thank you. Hi folks, Carl James here from Electric Media Madness, joined today by Dan Ryan. How you doing, mate?
Alright, yeah.
Good. For the miracles of modern technology, we are doing this online today for various reasons which we shan't get into here. But we are here to discuss Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 3, People of Earth, I believe it's called.
I think it is, yeah.
Do you want to kick this one off? I will jump in when I want to rant.
Well, this one was a bit different, because normally we do it all together, but this time we've had to do it separately. So, I watched it, I rang you up, and you were like, wow, this one was fucking terrible. and I was just kind of like, I didn't think this one was that bad, actually.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a difference of opinion as things go on. I mean, largely my issue, I'll have to take one of these headphones out. Largely my issue is how it's kind of, its treatment and respect for the mythology of Star Trek and canon and that kind of thing. With not so much canon, it's just sort of like the overall mythology of what Star Trek stands for, what it's always meant, and they take some big dumps in this episode on it, and a lot of direct dialogue as well, but we'll come to that anyway. So I just feel there's a great deal of disrespect for the entire history of Star Trek. It's strange actually, because the first two episodes that although we didn't rate them particularly highly, we didn't say. The idea was that it's changed an awful lot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This show.
It has a lot.
And maybe in some respects for the better, but the bar for Discovery was so low that it's got to go so high to even get remotely into the realms of good, respectability, all that kind of thing. And the problem with this episode is it feels like a step back again. Did you get the vibe of that at all? It feels like it had moved back to Star Trek 2, Season 2.
Because I'm not familiar with a lot of the mythology and that sort of thing. I didn't get a lot of that you did, because I didn't really. Some of the things mentioned, it's like I didn't really know anything about. So a lot of it, like a lot of the negatives that you have for this, I'm hearing or seeing of them for like the first time or something.
Yeah, I think there's some issues I have with. I mean, a lot of it as we go through, you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
But it's also the internal thing. Separate from that is this internal thing. Is like, it hasn't felt this season so far quite so offensive and quite so like. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're really wanting to rant at it. But this episode felt like though that core group of people who created this unique, their version of Star Trek Discovery as they see it for Season 2, Season 1, as especially Season 2. I felt like they were moving off in a different direction. They were leaving that behind, even with Michael Burnham changing her character, which funnily enough actually they still kind of did that with Michael Burnham in this episode, didn't they? But just not with all the other characters and the rest of the crew. And that kind of thing. But with Burnham, I mean, I'm not finding Burnham as annoying as.
She didn't annoy me in this episode.
I quite like where she is now. Well, in this episode, I did. But it felt like it was really shifting back in that Season 2 direction again towards the end. She's become I wanted her to stay with Book, and be separate from the crew, and she's got to do all this thing of, she loves them, we love you, all this kind of, but it didn't really materialise, pardon the pun, at the end of the episode, because he kind of just cleared off, didn't he? And that was it.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So I don't know if you want to just do a very brief synopsis of the episode. Spoiler alert out there to anybody who's not seen it yet.
It starts off basically where it carried on before, the last episode, and they get a... Well, it shows like what Michael Burnham's been doing very, very briefly in the last year.
Yeah.
And then she shows them a signal that she found sent from Earth to saying, like, basically, you know, we're Starfleet, we're the Federation, come home. So they go to Earth, and it's quite different. They've got a huge shield all around the Earth. There's these ships coming in, and they're like, we've got to scan you and everything. It's all just very different, really.
Are they called something like the United Earth Defence Force or some weird shit?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Because it seems as though the Federation and Starfleet. Well, it seems as though Earth has kind of opted out of it now, hasn't it? The impression I get was that. Let me just check my notes so make sure I'm right here. The impression I got is that Starfleet and the Federation are still out there somewhere, but because Earth was the home of Starfleet, it was like painting a big bullseye on it, because they still had dilithium and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And for any race that happened by, so they shifted Starfleet, didn't they, and the Federation out into parts unknown.
And then they completely closed off Earth, basically.
Yeah, and since then Earth has become just sort of its own thing, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Very sort of militaristic, and I did notice that. I mean, we'll come to all of this as I go through my notes, but very sort of isolationist, which is a political commentary on certain aspects of current year politics.
Yeah. So they start searching around Discovery. Not really a lot happen. Quite a lot of the episode, there isn't really a lot happening.
No.
It's them just sort of talking, really.
It's I think it's Nerdrotic who call is it Feelings in Corridors? Is that guy?
Basically, yeah. So yeah, and then when they're on there, there's this young girl who's 16, I think. I can't remember her name.
I think it's the only reason why I remember it is it's Adira, and the only reason why I remember it is because in Babylon 5, Londo's his lifelong love that he met the dancer was called Adira, and he's like, Adira, you know, with that brilliant Londo accent that does it. Jaka, Adira, the lady Adira is coming back to me, and so it's just why it's just stuck in my head. It's Adira.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, looking up names from other things, you know. But there you go.
Because why bother coming up with anything original? If someone else has made something good, just copy it. Why not? Copy and paste, sure.
Copy and paste, remind me to talk about special effects copy and paste as well.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we'll come to that. Yeah. Go on then.
So she's just sort of being like, ooh, I'm really smart, sort of thing. And she starts like messing around with loads of stuff, looking a bit dodgy. But then it just sort of moves away from that, and these raiders come along. Was the leader called like Rack or something, maybe?
I can't remember.
Did I make that up?
I can't remember. I think it sounds Ren or Ray, or was it Ray?
I think there was an R and a K.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, they come along and they've been raiding the dilithium. Well, trying to anyway.
Yeah.
So they're there, and then you get a little scene with Michael Burnham and Buck, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this plan, whatever this plan is.
Yeah.
They're like, and they just is like, oh yeah, I was drunk last time, but this time, you know, we've got it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, and
but the plan is so it's almost like nothing. It's just like fly out of the ship with the dilithium. Tell them that they've got the dilithium on board as well. Clearly
trick them to put their shields down,
Yeah.
and then just beam the leader back.
Yeah. I mean, that has happened so many times in Star Trek. So again, it's not hardly original, but as plans go, it's just they make it sound like, oh, it was this, you know, this massive elaborate plan that only happened because we was drunk and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing. It's just like, trick them to put their shields down and then beam them, and that's it.
It was very underwhelming. I was like, oh, okay, what's this big boy plan they're going to do? I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. After that, they bring the leader on board, and they try and start diplomacy between this raider and the Earth Defense Force, or whatever it's called. And then Giorgio comes in, does a bit of kung fu, and pulls the helmet off, and it's actually another human from Titan.
Yeah.
And they had like an accident there, and they've lost all their dilithium, and they need help and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they make an agreement.
'Cause didn't they say
the-
that they
yeah.
went to try and get Earth's help, and Earth shot down one of their ships or something like that with that?
Yeah.
And that's what caused them to be like the way they are with them. And although it doesn't explain why they disguised themselves, that part of the plot just is nonsensical.
Yeah.
Why
It
disguise
is.
yourself as these like weird looking, nasty alien type things? You know, why don't you just go to them and say, "Look, we're human, we're from Earth. You know,
Please help.
please help us." You know, so that is just totally nonsensical. Again, does not make any sense whatsoever. So
Yeah.
go on.
But yeah, they Earth agree to help them. The I can't remember her name. The one you said a minute.
Lady Adira.
Oh yeah, there's this whole subplot with her as well, where she'd like sabotaged the so her people couldn't transport out.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
they were stuck
again,
there.
that was purely based on pop look. It didn't seem to make any sense as to why she'd done it. If anything, it just left them up shit creek without a paddle, really, didn't it? You know.
Yeah.
And it hinged on everything happening just right. Otherwise, it would have all gone horribly wrong. You know.
Yeah.
Fortunately, as these things do in STD, it goes right. But,
Yeah. But she ends up wanting to join the crew and everything, and she does. Yeah, and the episode pretty much ends after that.
I think the only other little bit of the story that was kind of pulled out at the end was that the signal that they'd received from Earth was this Admiral.
Oh, yeah.
Tau, was it, or something
Yeah.
like that? And it turned out
Yeah.
that she was Admiral Tau or something like that because
Yeah.
she's carrying a Trill symbiont inside her. So, and it looks like
Yeah.
we're going to see something of the Trill situation in the next episode, because I did see in the teaser for next week there was some aliens that look like Trills. They got the spots down the side of their head, forehead, and down the
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's where it's going next. So yeah, I think that's. Anything else you wanted to say about the plot before we move on to dissection?
I think that was most of the plot, really.
Yeah. Any thoughts initially? I've got a whole book pages full of stuff here. So.
Normally, like, it was a bit different, because normally it's just like an issue comes up, they're just like bang, 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 and then shoot their way out of it. But like, I think they did it deliberately just to try and get fans back
I
on,
think so.
because they keep talking about it. They're like, we must talk,
Yeah.
diplomacy, and yeah. I like that they took a more even if it was just to try and trick fans to get back into it, which it probably is. I at least enjoyed the bit more of the diplomacy instead of shooting everything. And Saru kind of carried this one
Yeah,
again.
he also had that line which is actually not true. If you watch enough Star Trek, you'll know that it's clearly not true. But he says Starfleet doesn't fire first. And I'm thinking, yeah, they do sometimes.
Yeah.
That has happened a lot.
Yeah.
But general rule of thumb is no, they try not to fire first. It's more accurate to say Starfleet tries not to fire first.
But yeah, I think Saru carried this one again a bit.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy watching him quite as much in this episode as I did the last one.
No, I don't think
he
so.
still did a good job of it, and they've made him the captain now as well. That's something.
Which I'm glad about. If anyone should be,
Officially.
it is him at least.
Officially the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. She passed up the chance, although I don't quite see how she should have ever been in the running for captain of the ship anyway. Other than the fact that she's the bestest ever.
I mean, she is Iron Man after
Yeah.
all, so
Yeah.
that's
Queen of the-
pretty cool.
Queen of the future. So, what I'm going to do, if it's alright with you, is I'm just going to go back through a few little notes here I've made, just to get them out of the way. And so,
Yeah.
interject whenever you want to. So, we found out that the dilithium dried up. The Federation looked for an alternative source, and then the burn happened. So now it's not so much about the fact that all of a sudden the dilithium just sort of went bang. They're saying it actually did become scarce first, and then they started looking for an alternative source, and the burn happened. So I don't know if the burn was caused by the dilithium. They said in an previous episode that it was caused by the dilithium. So I don't know. That's kind of left up in the air. But
I guess we'll find out eventually.
yeah. So so they've got some stuff building there, but of course, you know what the internal continuity and logic of these Kurtzman Star Trek shows are. It's something that they say could be completely contradicted or even forgotten 2 episodes from now. So,
yeah.
So anyway, yeah. But what I was going to say about the CGI, we got this like a fleet of ships in space. First of all, they were really piss poor designs of starships. But they were all cut and paste. And one of the things I noticed was there was 3 starships there, you know, with the saucer and the warp nacelles on the back, and they were absolutely identical, even at the same angle in the space.
Yeah.
So they just copied and pasted, except for one which had been reversed, so it was just pointing. It was exactly the same, just like, you know, when you do like in your Adobe, where you do like your reverse horizontally or whatever, you know, it's like literally like they'd just done that. They were completely static. There was no blinky lights on them or anything, so it's literally like an image that had just been stuck.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And then they superimposed some like boom boom explosions over the top of them allegedly when the burn happened. But all of the ships exploded at the precise same nanosecond.
Yeah.
Which would be, in physics, that would be, you know, like virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a physicist, but I'm assuming that would be the case. So it was so badly done, so cheaply done as well. I mean, you can do it on your laptop at home, you know, or, easily. So at least they're living up to their reputation again of doing really, really bad things with CGI, which comes back at the end of the episode again, because at the end of the episode we see Tilly and a bunch of the crew from the bridge on Earth, where Starfleet Academy used to be. It's not Starfleet Academy anymore, apparently, but they're hugging a tree, as you do. I want to be a tree. Which was a tree that was in the grounds of Starfleet Academy that they sat under and studied when they were at Starfleet Academy. Personally, I can't imagine how any of these lot got into Starfleet Academy in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. But they used to study under this tree, and this tree is now like a 900 years, 1,000-year-old. But the CGI, there's like a CGI all of a sudden, it pans up for them all standing grinning like Cheshire Cats around the tree, up into the sky, and it's like an aerial shot of San Francisco, of the Golden Gate Bridge and blah blah blah. But the CGI is so bad for the whole pan out. When it moves out from them, there's like this weird, there's like a weird fuzz or blur around Tilly and the others and the tree. Like it's just so cheaply done. It's as it moves away, it just gets even worse. It's like they were clearly standing in front of a green screen, grinning balloons, you know. So yeah.
There's one thing I noticed in that scene, and I literally couldn't stop looking away from. When it zooms out and you see Golden Gate Bridge, it looked like the water was on the bridge.
It did,
like,
didn't it? Yeah. And there was this weird kind of ship thing that was going underneath it as well, and that made it more pronounced. You could see it even more. You're right. Yeah. So there was some rendering
I think maybe they made an error.
Something went wrong there.
Yeah,
definitely. I don't know if it's because the show's been edited from people's homes rather than, you know.
It could. It could be.
Dictatorial nightmare circumstances, but so yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to jump into a few of these lines that I noticed. Saru saying, "Discovery will make the future bright," and I thought, yeah, you know, that's another dig at the people that criticise this show. It's like they're trying to reaffirm the fact that Discovery is good and it will make the future of Star Trek bright. You know, they've trashed the future now. Anyway, Tilly putting the comm badges on the wall was rip off of Battlestar Galactica. Point worth remembering here: Discovery didn't have to travel into the future at the end of season 2. It's something that a lot of people forget, but they didn't. The ship itself didn't actually have to travel into the future, technically. Yet all the crew here seem to be mourning their past life back in the past, like it was something that they had to do, and that they
they all volunteered,
but they're acting like they had no choice. They had to do it. But if you go back, I know it's torture to watch Such Sweet Sorrow. It really is. But you can clearly see in that story that the ship itself, they did not have to go into that wormhole thing into the future. They didn't have to.
No.
It was only because of Mikey Spock's, their loyalty to her and all that. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Tilly says to Mikey Spock, "You do seem like lighter somehow." Like trying to highlight the fact that her character is much more laid back this season after a year, which, in fairness, she is in this episode. I don't think it's going to last very long. I think you're going to call this what you said about the way they kind of retroactively reset the characters and then just put them back to how they were. So for some they'll regress the characters, for other they'll move them away, but say make them better, but say no, that's a bad thing. You can't be too nice. You need to come back to being how you were on Discovery. So I think you might have called that one. So, but also it's a clear attempt to make her character more personable and less unlikable. I think again, it's a legitimate complaint that people have had about this show, and I know that they don't like addressing the criticisms that people have of the show because they like to think that they've got it all banged to rights. But I think they have addressed it.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
I mentioned before about the language. It's always grating for me. I'm not, anything like that doesn't bother me about swearing, but it just doesn't fit right in the Star Trek reality, especially this far into the future, when it should have just gone out of the English language, or any language, human language. But there's a couple of piss-offs and a couple of, I think, Book said something about wanker or something like that, or bollocks or something. I can't remember what he says. Bollocks.
He said bollocks, I think. Yeah.
Mikey Spock, we thought we could imagine a future, and it turns out we were wrong. So that line, that's insulting the entire mythos and power of Star Trek. We thought we could imagine a future, and it turns out we were wrong. Now, Star Trek did imagine a future, albeit a fictional one, but it's a fictional future that a lot of people like. It's hopeful, it's optimistic.
Yeah.
They've now destroyed that optimism and hopefulness, and it seems like the only hopefulness and optimism now in this part of the timeline is the hopefulness and optimism that the crew of Discovery are going to bring back to the galaxy, led by Mikey Spock. So I find that to me is a really insulting line, not only to the entire history of what Star Trek has meant to a lot of people, fans including myself. I have a slightly detached perspective on Star Trek now, but I don't ignore the fact of all the years of being a fan and what it meant to me all that time. So I think it's very, very insulting. Then Saru about Discovery. There is no need to replace that which is not broken. I would say STD has always been broken. Saying it isn't broken doesn't make it a reality. But no, Saru says it here about Discovery. I mean, we're talking, it's a metaphor for the show, the ship is, as well. But he says it there. There is no need to replace that which is not broken. So you don't need to replace this. Discovery is perfect. It's not broken. You don't need to get rid of it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to replace it. It's perfect now. It's not broken. So,
of course, it's the best show ever.
Repeatedly saying something does not make it true. It's a criticism. It's a criticism of what I have of the media in general nowadays, especially the news media. But it also applies to fictional media. It isn't enough to just keep saying something and then it happens to be true. There's a clear point of separation where if something is clearly evidentially shit or lies or crap, then it is what it is. Saying it isn't is not going to change it. But of course we live in that day and age now where if the media does say something enough, people will believe it to be true. So, and that's what they're trying to say here with Discovery. So, and we mentioned about the fact that Adira is carrying around Lady Adira is carrying around a Trill symbiont, which was formerly for this Starfleet Admiral Tal, the one who sent the message, one of the two representation characters that have been touted for this season. We've got some something that potentially would be interesting here, because it's been done before in Deep Space Nine very, very well in the episode Rejoined with Dax, Jadzia Dax. So it should be interesting to see how they handle it, whether they handle it effectively, thought-provokingly, or whether it's just a big sledgehammer to the head again, like they have been known to do in the past with Star Trek. I think that's a very, very fair point to make there, without saying anything more than that. Let's just watch this space and see what happens. So
I think they did for a first episode introducing the character. I think they did all right.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
I really thought it'd be like, oh, okay, but it was fine.
I think one of the things that they tend to do is when they have, because this is not us saying this. This is Alex Kurtzman. It's a political platform. Star Trek is. It's an identity politics platform as well. So we have to bear that in mind. These characters are introduced in order to say something about the platform that they're grandstanding on. That Kurtzman has made that very, very clear. So one of the things that you often find is that the message is very, very heavy-handed, and it ultimately then makes the character quite unlikable, because they're the vehicle for that agenda message that they're trying to put through in the show. But
yeah, that does often happen.
In this episode, the character Lady Adira, she was not unlikable, so that's a good start.
No.
And nothing that happened with the character or the story or sexual orientation or agenda or anything like that came across as sort of like bashing you over the head. No,
it was pretty natural for Alex Kurtzman, actually.
So I was quite stunned, actually.
Yeah, I was as well.
Maybe that's to come, because I'm just, all I'm doing is just following the past, the way they've done it before in the past, the trend that follows the Discovery. Maybe that's to come, but so far so good. I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah.
It certainly feels like it's moving back to, in some respects, it feels like it's moving backwards again now. And they're pulling out those things that did move it forward a little bit by pulling Mikey Spock back again, making her the commander, things like that, getting rid of the book character, which he was alright, he wasn't an unlikable character, fairly watchable character.
I think he made Michael Burnham more likeable.
Yeah, he did make Michael Burnham.
Like, the two of them together was a lot better than, her and Discovery crew.
Yeah, but I wonder if that again is because in this day and age you're not allowed to show a man making a woman look better. That's very apparent, in a lot of fictional television now. So by separating them, it's because Saru made a line about you've gone so far, but you need to find yourself. And she said, I need to come back to the fold, come back.
Yeah.
It's like get rid of him, and come back.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're trying to say. I suspect we haven't seen the last of him. I suspect he's back. It's almost a given.
In one of the trailers, he was seen about to make love to Michael Burnham.
Okay, right, yeah.
So I guess he is returning.
Either flashback episode or he is coming back. Yeah. Right. Okay. So we'll see what that watch this space on that one. So, do you want to rate this episode then? I really got to think about this because I tried to think of a score for it. Have we had the same rating so far for the previous two episodes? Because I know I rated the first episode 1.
I rated the first one a 2.5.
Oh right, that's right. Yeah.
And I think the second one was a 3.5.
Yeah, and I said 2.5, didn't I? For the second one.
Yeah.
So your take on this one then?
I enjoyed this one more. I think you got to see more likeable Michael Burnham, and I appreciate her more when she's not an asshole. I think maybe a 4.5 this one for me. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm creeping up a bit.
There might be some conflict here on this channel. We'll have to watch the space and see.
4.5 is still a negative score.
Oh, it's still below average.
So
yeah, but it's getting there. So
I think it's going to go back down again, to be honest. But
no. I mean, we'll see. I mean, based on how Alex Kurtzman runs Star Trek franchise nowadays, I think it's almost certainly a given that it's going to go back down again. Because they can't deliver. They can't deliver on their story arcs and character development. It's useless at doing that. They're good at setting things up.
Oh yeah, but they can't
But
do any
deliver.
payoff. Yeah.
No payoffs, yeah. My issue with this is, right, I liked Michael Burnham a little bit more in this one.
Yeah.
And this is probably the most likeable I've ever found her in the show so far. What you get in one good in one hand, you get taken away from, well, you get it snatched out of your hand and pushed into a pulp by the other one. So, that for me, so I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit down on last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got
But
some good
still
things.
not a 1.
No, I mean, I did think Sonequa Martin Green was really good. I did not find Michael Burnham. I didn't really find her annoying in this episode, which is rarely happens.
I think she's getting more of a chance to like act more, because before it was just one set, like this is the character, this is exactly how she is.
Yeah.
But she's been given a bit more freedom with the way she can act, I think.
I think she's kind of cast off the shackles of being raised by Vulcans. You know that. I mean, that you can do that with characters that are. I mean, 7 of 9 is a good example. Tuvok, Spock, Data. You know, characters detach from their emotions to quite a large degree, yet they still emote in weird kinds of ways. You never felt that was coming through with Michael Burnham, but all of a sudden, it seems to be there in spades at the moment. I'm not holding my breath though. I'm not holding my breath. I think this is going to go south soon.
Yeah.
It really is. So, unless there's anything else you wanted to say, I think we'll leave it there for now.
Just check out Mandalorian video tomorrow.
Yes, we will be all being well. We'll probably have to do it like this again, but we will be covering the first episode of The Mandalorian tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have the video up very, very soon for you. And so we hope you enjoy that, and we hope you enjoyed this video as well. And if you have, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you can. We truly appreciate it, and share it about if you can. And for now, Daniel and I will say thanks very much, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Any new
goodbye.
language goodbye today? What about
sayonara? Sayonara.
Okay,
We'll go Japanese today.
Oh, sayonara. Cheers for now.